have the level of Shalom. That higher level of Shalom needs to have the bittul that comes through Rakdamas Avodas HaTfilah. That's the idea of Lahavi Soyesecha. They love the Torah because of you, because of your connection, because it's being your Torah, and that is a higher level than the Shalom, than the peace that they bring into the world. So he was speaking about that brought in the Asara Hakaf B'Shekel HaKodesh, that we have the Aser Sadibris, is connected to Aser Mamoris, that through the learning of Torah, it brings in Elikus into the world. It brings in Elikus into the Aser Mamoris more so than it was before, and specifically Aser Sadibris to show us that it's after Matan Torah, after the giving of the Torah, that's when it had the true level of the Hamshacha of the Ein Sof, in such a way that it's not just a level that's higher in the worlds, that the others could not reach that level that's higher in the worlds, and not even the level of the Ein Sof that's higher in the worlds, which other Rishon may have had some similarity to Torah mitzvahs the way we do it now before the Chet, but rather that it comes down the Hashem's very essence, the Shleimus Ha'inyan of Dira B'Tachtonim Adira for Hashem. So this is all about the Shalom, that it's modern Shalom Ba'olam, that they make the peace in the world through drawing down the Asara Mamor, through drawing down the Atzmus in the world, the joining of the Asara Mamoris with the Asara Sadibris. Now he's going to explain, and what about the impact on Talmidei Chachamim? So on the impact on Talmidei Chachamim is even deeper, as we'll soon explain, and that will be predicated on the bittul. Through the Akdamas HaTfilah, like we mentioned earlier. Ois page 8. V'hinei, my screen just blanked on me. V'hinei, since Hashem does not withhold the reward of any creature, therefore this much peace, the drawing down of Hashem's essence in the world, that comes about through Talmidei Chachamim, Nimshach gam l'Talmidei Chachamim atzmam, that comes down to the Talmidei Chachamim themselves as well. V'hainu, what does this mean in simple language? Sha'anachas ruach l'boiri, the pleasure and the light of the Creator, Mashanas lo yizbarach dir b'tachtoin, that he gets and he is made. It's made for him a home down here below. That delight yizgala l'Talmidei Chachamim she'asvas adira, that will become revealed to the very Talmidei Chachamim that made the home for Hashem. And this revelation, this reward of perceiving and being revealed within them, the dir b'tachtonim, the delight that Hashem has from the dir b'tachtonim, is higher than the reward of the world to come, the way it is on its own. The reward of the world to come on its own, it's our delight, it's a created being's delight. And since it's the delight and the pleasure of a created being, so that's incomparable to the delight that the Creator has. This is the reason why it's greater, 1 hour, 1 moment in Tshuva and Ma'asim Tovim in this world from the entire life of the world to come. Because when you're comparing the delight of a created being versus the delight of the Creator, there is no comparison whatsoever. Because when we're talking about the world to come, which is the reward of the mitzvah, that's the reward, that's the delight that the created being he is getting. He has the reward of the mitzvah. He's enjoying the rewards of the mitzvah. But that's incomparable to the delight of the Creator. And the delight of the Creator is found where? Tshuva, Ma'asim Tovim b'olam hazeh, in tshuva and good deeds in this world. So therefore, Olam Haba is totally insignificant in comparison to Olam Hazeh, because Olam Hazeh, tshuva Ma'asim Tovim b'olam hazeh. Olam Haba is nachas ruach of a nivra, whereas tshuva ma'asim tovim b'olam hazeh is a nachas ruach the boire. That's olam haba on its own. But Ella, since Hashem does not withhold the reward of every creature or any creature, it will come down to the tzaddikim that they made the delight of the Creator, also the delight of the Creator. And that's what they will experience. That's the Shalom Rav that we're going to talk about. Top of the next page, Reishei. Omnam. So that the tzaddikim should be able to be a vessel to receive this delight that's completely beyond them. Because this delight is the essential delight of Hashem's essence, that there is no definition and no categorization of it whatsoever. So how can you receive something that's completely undefined? To receive something completely undefined, I need to be undefined. For this, the person has to be completely sublimated and nullified. They're entirely not a metzias whatsoever. Similar to what Chazal say, who is the face of the Master Hashem? This is Rab Shimon ben Yochai. The Gemara Yerushalmi says that the pasuk that says Havaya is in his holy chambers or his holy palace. The Rabbi Yitzchak Bar Blazer, I think it is, Beknishta Medrasha, the Kisrin, in the Beis Medrash of Kisrin of Kisaria. So we see this amazing thing that the Talmidei Chachamim are not a Metzias whatsoever, but themselves, and they are therefore identified completely with Shem Yud Kei Vav Kei. Once they are not a separate entity, so then then they are able to receive and have the delight of the Creator. Because since they are not something separate from Hashem, so Hashem's delight, the Creator's delight, and their delight is entirely one. It's similar to a servant, since he is not a separate entity of his own whatsoever. And his entire being is the Metzias of his master. So therefore, the delight of the master is the delight of the servant. So that is how it is possible, because of the Oyhavei Saresecha, as he's soon going to explain, that bittul that makes it Oyhavei Saresecha. That's how you can have the Shalom Rav, that greater Shalom that Talmidei Chacham are zoich. Shalom Rav Oyhavei Saresecha. That's the great peace to those that love your Torah. Oyhavei Saresecha Dafkim, specifically to those that love your Torah, and specifically love Ki Akli L'Shalom Rav, the vessel for this great peace. Nachas Ruach, the delight of the Creator. Ubitl B'tachlis Kanal is when you have total bitl, which is inyan Oyhavei Saresecha. That's the idea that they love that it's your Torah, She'eis Ka Torah Shalahem, that their involvement in Torah study, V'chein Gam Kiyam Mitzvah Shalem, and so too their fulfillment of mitzvahs. Uloi B'chdei L'Kabel Schar is not to receive a reward, Ki Einam Roitzim Shum Davar La'atzmam, because they don't want anything for themselves. V'chol Avidasim B'Torah Mitzvahs Hirak Mitzad Avos Hashem. Their entire service in Torah mitzvahs is only out of their love of Hashem. Just like Avraham Avinu only served out of love of Hashem. So the same thing, that the Talmidei Chachamim have this soul service out of the love. And like we said before, to reach such a state that they love the Tzorah Secha, that's through the having beforehand the avoid of davening. Like was explained previously in Ois days, from the Maimer Shalom Rav of Tafshin Daled, how do you reach that level of those that love your Torah? It's when the Torah study has been prefaced and been preceded by davening. Ki tefillah hu inyan bittul kanal siv dalet, because tefillah is the idea of bittul, like we said before. And ois dalet, lachein idea avodas tefillah. Therefore, through the avodah of tefillah, boim lebittul zeh she'ein shum b'tzias la'atzmim chom tzius yod. We come to this bittul that is not an independent entity whatsoever. His entire entity, his entire being, is only the master. So now we're going to go back also to something that we wanted to understand about the pasuk, v'chol banayich limud Hashem v'rav shloim banoich. That when it talks about the banoich over there in that pasuk, it doesn't talk about the oyavei sarasech. V'zel gam atam, second paragraph from the bottom. Pasuk v'rav shloim banoich loy namar oyavei sarasech avodas atfilam. Down the pasuk, there's much peace for your children. It doesn't say those that love your Torah, which is indicating where does the love of Torah come in. It's avodas atfilah, it's avodah of davening. Keeping a gale, am shachas hashalom ba'olam, concerning drawing down peace in the world. Inyam b'noyach ha'iskim b'inyan shalolam, the idea of b'noyach, that they are involved in building up the world, like we said, Talmid Chachamim are building up the world. How do you do it? It's known shegam b'li avodas atfilah, even without the avodah of davening. It could even be even worse. The person might be even lacking in his level of Yir Shemayim. Still in all, efshar lechavin halacha la mitasa. It's possible for a person to get the halacha right and correct. And then, vaydesh poiskim psak din amiti, through ruling according to the true halacha. Especially so when people follow through on that ruling and they do according to the psak din, so nimshach rav shloim ba'olam, so then comes down much peace in the world. So that this to come down to the Talmid Chacham themselves, the peace of Hashem's essence only comes down to them by being vehicles for this, vessels for this, through prefacing the avodas hatfilah. So now the Rebbe is going to explain, in addition to what he was saying before about the avodah of a servant, there is also the avodah of the ben, because the pasuk uses the word banoich as well, and this is the revelation Nachas Ruach is not just predicated on the great bittul of Evet. Oistes, the vessel for the revelation of the delight of the Creator. It's not just the avodah of the level of a servant, also the avodah of a son. This is even more so, especially so, what is the idea of Neshamas Yisrael, who beikir bonim atem lavai lekechem kivur betanya. The main mila, the main identity of the Yidden is that you are children to Hashem your God, like we say at the beginning of Tanya. Chelik el kam b'al mamish is indicated by the pasuk bonim. V'zeu sha'pasuk shalom rav le'avis harasecha. Ba behemshech levarav shleim b'noyach, top of page reish vav. Why does Oyav Shalom Rav Le'avis harasecha come after that pasuk Rav Shloim b'noyach? Even though we're talking about different peace, the peace in the world, and this is the peace of the Talmid Chacham themselves. It's a reward for your sons. For their service, that they're increasing peace in the world, like we said in Sivches, the level of children. So Hashem doesn't withhold the reward of any creation, so he gives them also. Though they said, do not read it bonoich, but rather boinoich. How do you do a haklal? So therefore, how can you say it's behemshech to what it says earlier, bonoich? We already negated that explanation. It says, al tikra bonoich. Don't read it bonoich, read it boinoich. So the Rebbe says, there's a rule about the words al tikra. When the Chazal use the word al tikra, it doesn't mean to exclude the simple meaning of the reading. How do you do a klal b'alimud al tikra? It's known the rule concerning when we say the Chazal use the teaching of do not read it. She'ein shoylol hapirush hamikra. It's hanikra. It's not negating the simple and ordinary reading. It's adding another explanation. If so, the pasuk of Rav Shloim ben Noach is also not just talking about builders, but it also means children. The Mizem moving Shaschar the Shalom Baruch Nachzuruch the Boy Canal who Gamle ben Noach Kipshute Bechiras Bonim, from that the reward of great peace is the delight of the Creator, is also to your sons in the literal sense, the level of Bonim. So what is the level of Bonim? To be able to understand that, he brings in the explanation of the Alter Rebbe on a pasuk in our Parsha Vayeshev Yankov. Ois Yud. Juven ze behegen mashma vayra ben azok balagol dites kisel betoyda divre mas Vayeshev Yankov verts Mugure Yaviv. This will be understood by prefacing what Alter Rebbe, the one who's Gula Dites Kisel, explains in Toyda Oyer, in the Maimer titled Vayeshev Yankov verts Mugure Yaviv. Be'inyan ha'hefresh ben Toyda l'mitzvahs. Concerning the difference between Toyda and mitzvahs, the Alter Rebbe explains as follows. Shebekiyim ha-mitzvahs, when a person fulfills mitzvahs, ha'adam ha-mekayim es ha-mitzvahs u'bechinas eved. The person that fulfills the mitzvahs, he's in a level of a servant. Ke'eved ha-mekayim mitzvahs ha-melech va'oisei dvarav. It's like a servant that's fulfilling the command of his king, and he's doing the words, he's following through on the words that the king told him to do. So there's the king and there's the servant. They're still two separate entities. As opposed to Torah study, he is the king himself. That's why the Chazal say, K'maimer man malke, who are considered kings, Rabbanon. The Rabbanon, and by Torah study, they are completely one with the king, more so than mitzvahs. When their involvement in Torah is in a state of bittul, then I will place my words in your mouth. Dvarai mamish. It's mamish, my words, Hashem's words. It's not the person that's speaking. Rather, the words of Hashem, which that is halacha, that is what's being revealed in him. And that halacha is speaking out of his throat. That's what it means. Who are the kings? That's the Rabbanon, the Chachamim, those that study Torah. Because since the way they are studying halachas is in a state of bittul, and so their study of halachas is in such a manner that the king himself, the King of Kings, Hashem, he decrees and he says the ruling, the halacha, and he continues over there in the Maimer the Alter Rebbe in Torah Oyer on Vayeshev Yaakov. Shezel Mashukos of Vayeshev Yaakov Beretz Megure Yaviv. So he explains this. This is the inner meaning of the pasuk. And Yaakov settled in the land of his father's living, where his father was living. Hu loshen Megure, hu loshen Yira. Like it says, like Saguru of Naish, you should not be fearful of anyone. So Megure is in the word fear and awe. The Gam Lashon Oitzer, it also means like a storage. Like this type of storage that's filled with produce. That it's a type of vessel that you gather things and you store things in it. And these two explanations of Megure, whether it's fear or whether it's a vessel that contains the produce, have to do with each other. Both of them arise in one stalk because of Yiras Hashem, that the awe and the fear of Hashem is the storing house of the Torah. It becomes the vessel that contains the person's Torah. So too in the words of Chazal we find the term Oitzer Shel Yiras Shamayim, a storehouse of awe of heaven. This explanation is also written by the Mezritcher Magid, whose yard site is in the Yutas Kislev, Ba'or Torah, in his sefer called Or Torah. Shemegure Aviv, what does it mean, Megure Aviv? He yiras Aviv Shebeshamayim. He's fearful of his father in heaven. And the continuation over there in the teaching of the Mizritcher Magid, Megure losh nasifa v'knisa k'may oger b'kayit. The Megure also means from the word gathering and collecting, like the term in Chazal, oger b'kayit, is collecting in the summer. Pirush Megure aviv hu, what does that mean? The Megure of his father, Shabitul the Yira. The bittul of awe, ubefrata bittul the yiri law, especially the bittul of the great awe, the higher level of awe, who kli kibul, it's a vessel, it's an oitzer, la gili the chachmei law, to the revelation of Hashem's chachma. The chachmei law, nikra aviv, the chachma of above is called his father, like we know soon in Tanya we're going to have Abba ve'ima, that's chachma bina. Okay, now, like we said earlier, when there's involvement in Torah is in the state of bittul, so then I will place my words will be in your mouth. That the words of Hashem, which is the halacha, is what's emanating from his mouth. So we see the level of Torah having a greater level of bittul than mitzvahs, because mitzvahs it's separate, Torah it's the very I become one totally with Hashem. Based on that, he's going to explain this, that this is connected with the idea of a ben. As we were talking about before, we're trying to find the idea of ben. Is from the explanation of Torah that the bitl of Yira, that's a vessel for Chachma law, is called Miguri Aviv. Hainu shakadosh baruch hu nikra kan loy b'toyar odin. Kim b'Torah of Hashem is called over here not as a master, but he's called by the description of a father. Like Mizritcher Magid says, Shemegurei Aviv, Yiras Aviv Shveshemayim. It's the fear of his father in heaven. Muvim zeh. So it's understood from this. Shebitol zeh hu loy habitol the eved. The bitl over here is not a bitl of a servant. Kim habitol the ben. It's the bittul of its son, because it says Megurei Aviv. We're calling Hashem his father. That's the relationship of a son to a father. Vaidei bittul zeh the ben, through this bittul of a son. Dvar havaya zu halochem, hi haniglas boy vihi hamdaber tech groine. The words of of Hashem, which is halacha, is what's revealed in him and speaking out of his throat. Ki ba'avoida the b'chinas ben avshalias bittul amiti betachlis. That the bittul of a son could be a complete bittul, more than an eved, that he is not a metzius whatsoever, and his entire existence is the existence of the father. Not like the servant that follows commands that he received from his master. So he says a very interesting point, he's going to say now in the brackets. How come? Why is that to be found in the bittul of the ben? The fact that the neshamas are called sons, it's not like a son down here below. Though the son derives from the father's brain, but after the son is born, he is separated from him to such a degree that it has a halachic implication. If a person could only save his own lost object, something's about to be flooded by the sea or whatever, by the river, and he can save his father's, he is allowed to save his own first, because he is now a separate entity than his father, so therefore he comes first. But that is the way a son is down here. But when we talk about a son by the Eibishter, Kim Shana Shami, Kulachad, Ve'ein Nefredes, Mani is Baruch Klal. So therefore, it's more of a Metzias of Hashem than the Eved is. Not only that, El Shabitl Zeh, Naili Yoiser, Ma Bitl the Eved. This bitl is even greater than the bitl of the servant. More so like we had before from Torah Oir. Through being involved in Torah, in bittul, who loike eved amakayim mitzvahs hamelech, he's not like a servant that's fulfilling the command of the king. Elahu hamelech atzmai, he is the actual king himself. Let's see, just finish off the last paragraph in the Maimer. This is what it means. All your sons are the students of Avaya, and much peace for your sons. Do not read it your sons, but your builders. And then the pasuk further goes on and says, Shalom Rav Le'avis, there's great peace to those that love your Torah. That the service of Talmidei Chacham that are called your sons. Like the Mizritcher Magid explains on this pasuk that Yaakov settled in the land of his father's dwelling, like we said before. We're talking about Aviv. We're talking about the relationship of a son to his father. He was collecting and gathering the holy sparks and bringing them up to the highest level. That's also what the pasuk continues in the land of Canaan. Canaan Meloshen Soicher, that Canaan is also a word for someone that's a businessman, that goes around and around. The ultimate purpose of the descent in Shamadani below is to acquire material for sale, and all this material you can only acquire in this world, and then in the world to come you get the profit. The material that it collects is through the sparks that he refines. This is also what he continues in the parsha. Behold, we are making bundles. It's referring to refining of the sparks. And through that, that Yaakov being settled, meaning he wanted to settle in a state of tranquility. That tranquility is inyan hasholom, the idea of peace that we've been talking about now. Hein hasholom ba'olam, both the peace in the world. Like the Chazal say, Talmidei Chacham increase peace in the world. Ve'hein shalom la Talmidei Chacham matzmam, and both concerning the peace of the Talmidei Chacham themselves. Like it continues, Shalom Rav Le'avis, there's great peace to those that love your Torah. Since Talmidei Chacham are called children are in this total state of bittul, therefore the delight of the Creator, from the very fact that they are increasing peace in the world, that delight of the Creator itself, the Talmidei Chacham themselves experience. That's the great peace to those that love your Torah. When their service in Torah mitzvahs is not to receive reward, only out of a love of Hashem, to make a delight for the Creator. They know that their own reward, the delight of the created being, is incomparable to the delight of the Creator. Through this bittul, the boider comes down in a revealed way, the delight and the pleasure of the Creator. Since they're not a separate entity, the delight of the Creator is their delight.